This is CBC Here and Now.
There are some will on the Newfoundland and Labrador side for bringing some changes. We will be bringing demand for changes as well.
A hint at how Churchill Falls negotiations may unfold between the province's new government and Quebec.
Willie was so dedicated to sports, but most of all, he was dedicated to his family.
So it's hard to replace a Willie Smith, and I don't think you can replace a Willie Smith.
Hundreds of people in Corner Brook came out to pay tribute to Willie Smith, the manager of the Corner Brook Civic Centre. I'm Colleen Connors, and we'll talk to some people who knew him very well.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes. Quebec's energy minister is warning Newfoundland and Labrador that if it wants to make changes to the Churchill Falls MOU, Quebec will demand changes too. Christine Frechette spoke at the annual New England Governors and Eastern Canadian Premiers Conference in St. John's today. Mark Quinn reports.
Quebec's energy minister, Christine Frechette, has been involved in negotiations with Newfoundland and Labrador since well before the Memorandum of Understanding was announced almost a year ago.
This is the 1969 contract, and we are endeavoring to rip it out.
Today's Atlantic Premiers and New England Governors gathered in downtown St. John's. Frechette said Quebec believes the MOU Fury helped achieve is balanced. She also put Newfoundland and Labrador on notice that there could be consequences if that balance is upset.
From our point of view, the current agreement offers an interesting balance, and a balance that must be preserved. And so if there are some will on the Newfoundland and Labrador side for bringing some changes, we will be bringing demand for changes as well on our side. But for the moment, I think that this agreement offers a very interesting balance between the two of us.
Frechette was also asked if Quebec is concerned that a change in government here has slowed the negotiations and made the April 2026 final agreement target unachievable.
We will have a brief meeting in a few minutes in order to discuss more directly of that agreement, but works keep going on, and therefore we are confident that we will put that in place as soon as possible.
Premier Wakeham also commented on the timeline for reaching a final agreement and said that he will publicly release an independent review of the MOU that was done for the previous provincial government and was protected as a cabinet document.
No, I'm not worried about the time. I will be releasing that over the course of the next little while, so stay tuned.
Frechette and Wakeham were scheduled to meet one-on-one after the news conference to discuss the MOU and plans to develop more energy on the Churchill River. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Former provincial energy minister Andrew Parsons is drawing criticism for his latest role, a lobbyist for a wind-to-hydrogen project. Parsons registered with the Federal Lobbyist Commissioner just 3 months after stepping away from provincial politics. He's now working on the Exploits Valley Renewable Energy Corporation's wind-to-hydrogen project known as EVEREC. The provincial NDP is crying foul. As Parsons was still energy minister, the province reserved some 300 square kilometres of Crown land for EVEREC's project. Radio Canada's Patrick Butler reports.
These 4 projects have been independently reviewed and determined to provide the overall greatest benefit to the province.
That's Andrew Parsons during a press conference back in 2023 when he announced the first wind-to-green hydrogen projects eligible for reserved Crown lands. On the shortlist, EVEREC, a company that Parsons now works for as a consultant. The former energy minister left provincial politics in May. According to the Federal Lobbyists Registry, he became a consultant for EVEREC in August and met with Federal Innovation Minister Mélanie Joly in September. In Newfoundland and Labrador, former ministers can't lobby provincial politicians in the 12 months after they leave office. But nothing in provincial or federal legislation prohibits Parsons from lobbying decision-makers in Ottawa.
I have a problem with that, yes. As a provincial minister, you've got the inside track not only with the province, but also with your federal counterparts. So you've got that benefit. There's no two ways about it.
Din says it's time to tighten up the rules. He says not doing so hurts people's trust in politicians and leads to real and perceived conflicts of interest. Parsons did not respond to interview requests. Patrick Butler, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, now to Ottawa. The federal budget is being voted on tonight, and one part of that budget sparked public sector workers and union representatives to protest in St. John's today. It's all about a proposal to make a drastic cut to the public sector that would see job reductions in the tens of thousands over the next few years. Here in us, Enrica Wilhelm has more.
Solidarity! And to signal exactly that, a crowd of more than 200 people, union organizers but also public sector workers themselves, showed up in front of MP Tom Osborne's office in St. John's.
What we will not accept and what we will not support is cuts to workers, cuts to jobs.
But that's what the federal budget proposes. It includes slashing 16,000 public sector positions across the country over the next 3 fiscal years, starting in April. And the cut will be felt in this province, too.
The federal public sector goes beyond, the tax center here in St. John's. There are many people spread out right across the province in Labrador as well that are performing really important jobs when it comes to keeping us safe, keeping our food safe, the delivery of those important public services.
Solidarity! All right, folks. Now, Tom Osborne is up in Ottawa today, but I think he heard us.
Or at least he heard about the rally, and he is responding to the concerns, repeating what the federal government has already said: the public service grew at a far greater rate than the population.
10 years ago, the Canadian public service was less than 270,000 people. In 10 years, it grew by over 40%. To almost 370,000 people. That's 100,000 people in 10 years. It's an unsustainable level.
And he said people's circumstances will be considered.
We are certainly looking at lessening the impact to the greatest degree possible on our younger employees, many of whom have young families. We are looking at this, and departments and, The plans are still being worked on.
But protesters say
a job cut is a job cut. They're still not going to be replacing those workers, and that's going to mean a heavier burden on the workers who remain behind.
The final vote on the budget, including the plan for public servants, will likely take place around 8:15 p.m. Newfoundland time Monday night. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the trial has started for a St. John's man accused of manslaughter following the death of a 71-year-old in 2022. Desmond Downey was charged after Douglas Hunt died at his home in the east end of St. John's in early March of 2022. In court today, a witness said Downey punched Hunt once in the head during a dispute on Wishingwell Road earlier the same day. Downey was charged more than a year later. He's pleaded not guilty. Downey elected to be tried by a judge alone. And the RCMP's Major Crime Unit is investigating a suspicious death in Little Hearts Ease. Police have released few details, but they say the death was reported early Wednesday morning. The cause of death is still under investigation, and they believe it's an isolated incident, so there's no concern for safety in the community at this time. RCMP is asking anyone who may have witnessed suspicious behavior between 5 p.m. on November 11th and 6 a.m. on November 12th to contact police as soon as possible. And after a year of financial ups and downs, the Newfoundland and Labrador Folk Arts Society has closed its office and laid off its staff. In a letter sent to its members, the Society's board of directors says it's in a significant financial crisis, and its executive director, Julie Vogt, has resigned. With no available cash, uncertain funding, and no one to lead, the board is pausing some programming and ceasing services it can no longer afford. The society is now going to explore possibly transitioning to a volunteer-run model. In an emailed statement to CBC News, the board of directors turned down an interview request, saying they wish to respect the membership's deliberations on the matter. And that news sparked a lot of reaction from Music NL over the weekend as the organization was hosting its annual Music NL Week events. Industry leaders are hopeful the folk festival can bounce back once more.
Well, I have high hopes that the festival is going to restructure. I mean, I think absolutely no one wants to hear of a festival hitting, choppy waters. But I think in a way that the festival recognizing that there are structural problems, taking some time to reflect and see if there's a better model that serves them at this moment. I think it's actually hopeful that the festival will come back.
My biggest thought is the importance of community rallying behind events that are important to them. It sometimes takes and we've seen communities lose a festival, and it's taken that for them to appreciate how much that festival meant to them. So the idea is, have communities rally behind and support the events before this happens, because it's so incredibly hard to bring something back.
There's so many challenges that go in the financial, especially, like things are getting more expensive and the infrastructure is getting more expensive.
It's really not uncommon in this economy for festivals to have to retool what they're doing and change and evolve and look at their business models. And I take it more as a sign that they're going to reflect and see what's going to bring the festival into the next chapter rather than a sign that is dissolving. I don't think it's dissolving in any way.
Well, now to the West Coast, Corner Brook has lost a prominent community member. Willie Smith died suddenly last Thursday at 55 years old. Smith spent decades as general manager at the Corner Brook Civic Center. Here now's Colleen Connors has more.
300 people filled the Civic Center boardroom today, a place where Willie Smith dedicated his time and passion for the past 20 years. Smith's death was sudden and unexpected, and his community showed up in a big way today to honor him.
So Willie was so dedicated to sports, but most of all, he was dedicated to his family.
Smith was born in Ireland and went to high school in Stephenville. He loved sports, basketball especially. That's where politician Eddie Joyce got to know him 40 years ago when he coached his high school team.
You could see then the great person he was going to be. He was a leader of the team. He was dedicated. He worked hard, and he brought bright sunshine to everybody that he met around, even playing against the kids.
Off island.
Smith had a short stint at the gypsum plant in 1996. Speaking about poor ferry service, in the exact same room, the same spot as the celebration of life today.
Rear hunch trucks are stuck, when Clydeways trucks are stuck, when Clark Transport and others are stuck at the ferry, our customers are not getting their product.
But he dedicated most of his years to the local civic center and all who used it. He was funny and quick with a joke or a bet, but most importantly a family man who gushed over his children and grandchild endlessly. Mark Lambswood was one of his close friends. They shared a love for hockey, even made a show about it.
Willie, as was mentioned today, just kind of when you became a friend or you're in a circle, you were in a circle for life. Dedicated was another word that was used to describe him today. And he was that to his family, to his friends, to his circle, which was a very large circle.
While there were times when this celebration of life was emotional, there was a lot of laughs and smiles, remembering the man who was irreplaceable to many.
And I don't think you can replace Willie Smith, but I think there's going to be someone moving in who's going to try to live up Willie Smith's legacy.
While most people may know Smith because of his dedication to the Corner Brook Civic Center for the past 2 decades, he will be remembered for his dedication to his family and his many best friends. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, the weather today has been windy and rainy, but the good news is most of that rain has ended. We saw about 28 millimeters in St. John's, other areas about 15 to 20 millimeters. But there is some snow on the way for those of you up across Labrador, already seeing that snow in Lab West. About 5, maybe 15 centimeters of snow likely for you. Chance of showers or flurries will continue as we head through the day tomorrow across the island. We've got another system late week that may bring some rain and snow to parts of the province.
It is time for the weather. Carl is out and about.
Yes, there are a lot of folks here in the Avalon Mall cinemas playing chess.
How do you do, sir?
Cross-country adventure that started 8 years ago came to an end in St. John's over the weekend. Aidan Beckett hiked, paddled, and cycled 45,000 kilometers along the Trans-Canada Trail from coast to coast to coast. CBC was there when he finished his journey.
Aidan, you did it.
I did it, yes. It's over. 45,000 kilometers of walk, hike, and canoe over the course of 5 years. over every province and territory in Canada. The goal is the simple goal of seeing Canada. Like, it's a small country, you can see it easily. But yeah, I wanted to see Canada. I wanted to see its communities, its natural areas. As I started to travel out of high school, I was like, wow, like I haven't actually seen my country. And the more I dove into it, I'm like, whoa, like there's a lot here to see. I'm from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan originally, but I've lived most of my life on the West Coast. I started in Sault, British Columbia, right outside of Victoria. I started my day at Cape Spear for the easternmost point, but a lot of Newfoundland here is built on the old railroad bed for the trail. So it's significant in the sense that this is the end. This is where the history ends.
He's persevered through an awful lot to get here today. Forest fires have had him stop the trail several times, and he's been able to adapt. COVID shut him down, had to come back home. So like he made it, and it to us is like a graduation. He has had an amazing education all across Canada. The people, the geography, and then telling us about it too, so we've learned too.
I was doing some hitchhiking actually in Bonavista, and this man was very nice to pick me up and take me into Bonavista, and then kind of became like the ultimate tour guide for Bonavista. He took me to just about every single viewpoint, every single trail, and just, yeah, absolute Newfoundland hospitality to a T.
What did you think when you saw him on the road?
This little skinny guy with a big pack. And I just took him around town and took him in for 2 nights and fed him. He likes the moose.
I like the moose, absolutely.
What did you think?
Inspiring man. That's why I drove 3.5 hours to come see him. And the weatherman gave me 2 flags. I give him one and kept one.
It's been 8 years since I started, and just such a big appreciation for Canada, who we are as a people. And it's easy to say certain cities and touristy communities are amazing, because they are. Going out though to the very remote corners of Canada, seeing the First Nations communities, going out to where people just can't get to, flying communities, boating communities, it's a whole other world, and it really gets that sense of small town Canada out. And everyone knows, like, small town Canada, we great hockey players and like the best people. They really are the best people. The more small town Canada we have, the better our country is.
Oh, I remember this guy the rest of my life. That's for sure. Hey, guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on, friend.
Amazing.
Friends forever.
Well, the town of Gander says it has a rat problem. A video posted on social media shows several big rats crawling around outside a home. The man who filmed the video says the problem is widespread and he's had enough.
Well, usually when I get off work, I usually try to wind down for a bit. So I sit in my car 5-10 minutes just to relax before I go inside and deal with everything else in life. And I just seen something move over there. And when I looked, I could see the rats. And I actually counted 8 that day. So I got my phone out and zoomed in on it. And they were just jumping around. And I just think it's enough threats around town. Something needs to be done.
Now, in response, the town of Gander has issued a municipal order to the property owner to clean up their yard. The town also says it will proceed with emergency pest control measures along the property's boundary to help reduce further impact on the neighborhood. Mayor Percy Farwell says people need to work together to tackle this problem.
There is no such thing as eradicating the presence of rodents in where humans are living, but how do we better manage it? And that's sort of a collective effort between, the regulatory and the legal framework and the homeowners' responsibilities to the maintenance of their own properties, the town's responsibilities for properly enforcing regulations that might lead to habitat being created for rodents that would not otherwise.
Ashley's here with a look at the weather, and what a strange day in St. John's. It was like pouring, and then it stopped, and then it started again, and then it was sunny while it was pouring, and beautiful rainbow out there today.
It was gorgeous. This afternoon, lots of photos out there of the rainbow. Hopefully you got a chance to see it. But if you didn't, here's a photo of that rainbow, at least one of them anyway. There's a double rainbow here, just a slight double rainbow there, but some other photos were brilliant, that's for sure, this afternoon. We can thank the rain for that, and then that sunshine this afternoon. But Kevin captured this photo great there. Thank you so much for that. But the area of low pressure that we saw move in brought some very gusty winds. Also saw some pictures of some overturned tractor trailers in the Rec House area thanks to 134 km/h winds starting last night, continuing through a good chunk of the overnight and ending this morning. So lots of areas seeing those winds gusting over 100 km/h. Burgeo just barely at 101 km/h. And then many areas seeing in the 80s and 90s here in St. John's being one of them. Top wind speed this afternoon, or well, overnight and into this morning, was 81 km/h. So not quite as windy now as we head through the night tonight. It is going to continue to be a little breezy, but we'll say goodbye to the winds for now. This area of low pressure, though, it is not in a rush to leave. It will be our weather maker over the next several days, although the weather will improve slightly with it. But for now, we're still going to be dealing with some of those showers. Environment Canada still has a snowfall warning in for the Eagle River area. That's where we'll see most of the accumulating snowfall, and you could pick up another 5 to 10 centimeters of snow by the time that's said and done. But it should start to wind down, though, as we head through the evening tonight. Taking a look at those temperatures, though, boy, was there a difference between eastern areas of the island today, 10 to 13 degrees, and then you head west, single digits, and then up across Labrador, even more so. Single digits towards the coast, hanging out around -1 in Lab City, and your temperature really isn't going to move a whole lot over the next couple of days. In fact, you're in for some accumulating snow there as well. You're still sitting around the -1 degree mark, but those temperatures have dropped down to the single digits for most of the island, down to 7 degrees in St. John's. So taking a look at the map tonight, we're looking at some snow, like I said, up across western portions of Labrador. Higher elevations along the Upper Lake Melville area as well. Now towards the coast, saw some snow earlier today, but that changed over to rain, and that will generally continue to head further north as we head through tonight with clearing skies. The story across a good chunk of southeastern portions of Labrador. Now the island, you may see some clearing skies tonight for some areas, but generally it will be unsettled. We're looking at the chance of some showers for most as well. Now in the higher elevations on the west coast, inland areas as well along the south coast, you may see some flurries. Now, it shouldn't accumulate, but it shouldn't accumulate to much anyway. But there's certainly still a chance. Maybe some wet snow in the higher elevations on the west coast. The highest elevations should see some snow tonight. Now, as we head into the morning hours, generally looking at the snow continuing for those of you in Lab West, and again, for the west coast of the island, we should see some peaks of sun to start the day for those of you in eastern Newfoundland. Now, overall tonight, 2 to 5 degrees. That will be the overnight low. Southerly winds still breezy, though. We're looking at winds gusting anywhere from about 50 to 60 km/h. Now, up across Labrador, we've got the southwesterly winds for those of you in the south coast. The north coast, those will be northeasterlies, and then northerly winds. You can really see that rotation of that area of low pressure with those winds for those of you in Lab City. So you'll be around -2 tonight with winds gusting around 40 to 50 km/h. Now, as far as the snow goes, most of you in the west will see by the time we get to Wednesday, somewhere between 5 to maybe 15 centimeters of snow. That should be on the high end of that. And then the weather, like I said, will improve for the rest of the south coast anyway. But Inland areas for the north coast, you still may pick up some accumulating snow as well. Overall, daytime highs tomorrow will sit between 3 and 8 degrees. Again, unsettled showers, chances of flurries for those of you in higher elevations on the west coast. And those winds will still stay up. About 50 kilometer per hour wind gusts expected out of the southwest pretty much across the board. Again, a few peaks of sun in the mix, so it won't be a washout like it was today, that's for sure. And then for Labrador, other than that snow in the west, you're looking at showers or flurries for the rest of the big land. And again, still breezy for you as well. I'll have your long range forecast coming up a little later.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, a new report on the province's film and television industry is looking at how local productions could be more environmentally friendly. As Here Now, Zach Gowdy tells us sustainability on set is becoming a business issue.
Behind the scenes, the folks driving film and TV production in Newfoundland and Labrador say that for this industry to keep growing, it has to start thinking green. For the past year, Picture NL has worked with EcoNext, a nonprofit that works to accelerate clean growth in Newfoundland and Labrador. EcoNext spent much of that time on set, seeing firsthand how film and TV is made and looking for ways to make it more environmentally friendly. Laura Churchill is the CEO of Picture NL. She says they're doing this review not just because they believe in the cause, but increasingly getting film and TV projects green-lit depends on having green production practices.
Sustainability targets are coming into play for a lot of larger broadcasters and funders for film and television, not just within Canada, but globally. So for us to remain competitive and to have a highly skilled workforce to attract production and to really put our best foot forward in this space, we thought the best person and people to talk to was EcoNext.
Now, EcoNext has released a report on how to make local productions more sustainable. Audrey Parnell is an author of the report. She says the film and TV industry in Newfoundland and Labrador does face particular challenges. For example, a production company in Toronto or Vancouver may have large studios or warehouses where sets and costumes can be stored and reused. Producers here may have to be more mindful to make sure props and other production materials don't wind up as waste. Parnell says there's a similar issue when it comes to the vehicles used for film and TV production.
A lot of these productions use a lot of vehicles, and these vehicles tend to idle when they're not in use. So just beginning to build a mindset around, okay, well, if we're not going to drive somewhere in the next 2 minutes, we probably should actually turn the vehicle off. And then also beginning to take a broader look at how challenging it is within our province to be able to rent hybrid vehicles or electric vehicles to be able to really make a meaningful impact on reducing the amount of greenhouse gas emissions associated with productions.
Parnell says a key next step is partnering with other industries that are facing similar challenges. Sectors like mining or hospitality also have big sustainability concerns and would also benefit from having more access to electric vehicles, among other things. This province's film and TV industry has grown to more than $87 million in annual production activity, but it will need some outside help to keep rolling. Zach Gowdy, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, a vote recount for the provincial district of Topsail Paradise is scheduled to get underway Tuesday morning. PC incumbent Paul Dinn retained the Topsail Paradise seat in the initial election results, beating the Liberals candidate, former Paradise Mayor Dan Bobbitt, by 102 votes. Now, Bobbitt says this recount is because of irregularities flagged by a scrutineer on election night.
Those irregularities that were identified by the other candidates as well were verified by a scrutineer that I had at a polling station on election night. So that's the extra evidence that warrants this recount in Topsail Paradise. There were irregularities that were identified by one of my scrutineers for sure, and others obviously alluded to similar inaccuracies during the count. And so that's why I guess the judge looked at the evidence. And in my case, it was, or not my case, but for Topsail Paradise, it was decided by the judge. And I respect the judge's opinion that would go to a recount.
A man who spent his final months sailing around the province with his family has died of cancer. 35-year-old Zach Stroud was diagnosed with terminal cancer and posted videos of him and his family on a boat trip around the province. He hoped to create some lasting memories for his family. From July through to September, he, along with his wife, Andrea, and daughter, Isabella, stopped at numerous coastal communities and explored different areas. Zach Stroud passed away on Saturday.
I'm in Gander, where people are learning more about this dog, Sergeant Gander, as an American Army vet shows a film he produced on the World War II hero.
This is a story that needs to be told, and I love this dog.
That story tonight on Here and Now.
Well, for those with an interest in World War II history, the story of Gander, the Newfoundland dog, may be well known. The mascot for the Royal Rifles of Canada died in action in the Battle of Hong Kong and is credited with saving the lives of several Canadian soldiers. Now, the dog's story is now the subject of a new film from an American veteran. Troy Turner has more.
It's a small crowd of about 50 people, but all eyes are glued to the screen, where Sergeant Gander, a soldier's soldier, screened at the local aviation museum.
To you, the Ganderites that I hold close in my heart, for thanking you to let me show this to you.
An American Army veteran who goes by J.P. Bear was in the province this week promoting his new film.
His name originally was Pal until he was given to the Royal Rifles to be their mascot. Sergeant Gander's name, the men of the Royal Rifles that were stationed at the airport in Gander, they named him Gander in honor of the village that he came from, and they wanted to honor that.
Now, Bear, a Newfoundland dog aficionado, is honoring Gander too.
I owned 4 Newfoundland dogs, 3 blacks and 1 Landseer. My last one was a therapy dog, and we would go to schools and libraries and nursing homes and hospitals.
The way Gander lost his life in 1941 is tragic, says Bear, but he's been bestowed a great honor with the Dickin Medal.
One particular grenade came close to the men, out of their reach. They couldn't get it, and Gander had been watching what was going on. He grabbed the grenade and ran it away back to the Japanese, hence losing his life when it exploded. The greatest thing about the whole story is that his name was put on the wall, the memorial wall in Ottawa, in its proper alphabetical place. It wasn't like they did the wall and then, oh, hey, we're going to throw his name on there. No, it was in the proper place with a cross designating that he died in battle.
J.P. Bear wrapped up 10 presentations in Newfoundland and is now back in his home state of Arizona, where he will again tell the story of Gander and show his film to members of the Phoenix Newfoundland Dog Club. Troy Turner, CBC News, Gander.
Well, the Republican governor of Vermont says tariffs are a terrible idea. Governor Phil Scott openly criticized President Donald Trump's tariffs and his damaging rhetoric toward Canada at today's conference of New England governors and Eastern Canadian premiers in St. John's. Governor Scott says he understands why many Canadians are angry.
I always enjoy attending the New England Governors and Eastern Premiers Conference and hearing about all the good and all the things that are in common happening across the region on both sides of the border. From energy to new innovative technology and environmental resilience, there's a lot happening already and more that's possible if we expand our collaboration to solve some of the challenges we're all facing. You won't be surprised to hear that we also discussed trade. Canada is Vermont's largest trading partner. It's an important partner to other New England states as well. So it's important we continue to look for ways to expand trade and encourage our businesses to continue to work together, because we've seen success in many sectors, including aerospace. I know there are some who may be more than hesitant to work with the U.S. right now, and I get it, because words matter. You're offended and you're hurt. And the unnecessary rhetoric we're hearing far too often these days has a real impact on northern states, showing up in our Canadian visitor data. But I've said what I've said from the beginning. Canadians are more than just our friends. You're like family. And I said from the very beginning that tariffs in general are a bad idea because they're just a tax on consumers. But arbitrarily increasing tariffs on our closest allies is a terrible idea. A few months ago, Ethan Allen Furniture, a manufacturer in Vermont near the Canadian border, caught fire after a boiler malfunctioned. Thankfully, there was a swift response from fire departments in the area, which included Canadian crews from Quebec, who all pitched in to help save the day and put out the fire. This is just one simple example of many that reminds us how closely intertwined we are and our communities are. And I'm appreciative to their willingness to help, regardless of how divisive some of the rhetoric coming out of Washington is. Whether it's cross-border collaboration when responding to fires or other emergencies, workforce, tourism, energy, or trade, the relationship between Canada and New England is vital and very important, and something we all need to continue to repair and strengthen. And I can assure you, Vermont will continue to do our part to rise above the rhetoric and do the right thing. You know, I'm a proud Republican. I believe in the values of Ronald Reagan, John McCain, Mitt Romney, and so forth. But I also believe that we need to treat people with respect and civility, especially our friends and our neighbors. So this has been a difficult time for us, for me in particular. But at the end of the day, I just do what's right. My constituents come first, and what's right for them. And my party comes second or third beyond that. So just trying to keep a narrow focus on doing the right thing. There's a lot of divisive rhetoric, and everyone has a different way of approaching their agenda. And I'm not, I don't think the way that DC, the president in particular, is presenting, it's the how he does things that really do offend people. And we went through the rooms last night. We had an event there, and we went through the World War I museum that's there. My grandfather served in World War I, from a Vermonter, and I thought about all the sacrifices those men and boys did for their country, for our country, for the greater good. But we were side by side with them, right? I mean, there were multiple countries involved. And so we do our best work when we're together, and we're still friends. Most of us don't appreciate the way that we've been treating our friends across the border. Tourism has taken a hit in Vermont. We've gained some in other areas from New England and so forth. So I would say about a 5% hit on tourism, which is a major industry for us. But there are many factors involved. It's not just about the rhetoric there. I think there is economically, with the dollar being of lower value in Canada than the States, that's a factor too. But again, I think eventually we want to, the message should be simple for us. I know we're all together in New England in saying, we miss you, Canada. We miss our Canadian friends from visiting us, but we understand. And sometimes it takes a while to get through that. But I've taken a different approach in Vermont. Obviously, I'm a Republican, as I said. I didn't vote for this president. I'm probably the only Republican governor in the United States that has said so publicly. But he's our president at this point in time, and I respect that. He got the most votes, he won. But over the next 3 years, over the last year, I've taken the approach of an umpire, and I'm just calling balls and strikes. When the president does something that isn't good for Vermont, I'll say so. When he does something that's good for Vermont, I'll say so. And we can't live in chaos for the next 3 years. It's not healthy.
Prime Minister Mark Carney, his first federal budget is facing a crucial vote in the House of Commons. The outcome will determine whether the Liberals can move ahead with their fiscal plan or if there could be a winter election. Olivia Stevanovich brings us the latest from Ottawa.
Fraser, do you believe your government has enough votes for the budget?
The stakes couldn't be higher.
I'm optimistic. This is the budget that we just campaigned on in the recent federal election.
Just over 6 months after winning April's election, Prime Minister Mark Carney could be back on the campaign trail if the Liberals lose their final confidence vote tonight on the federal budget.
I don't see any universe in which the government falls. None.
If Mr. Poilievre wants an election, let's do this. But if I were him, I'd be thinking really hard about whether I want to go to the polls or not.
Conservatives who stopped to speak say they're ready to bring the government down.
I don't think that Canadians can afford the budget that Mark Carney's put in front of them. It does nothing to address the core affordability issues that Canadians are facing.
Are you going to support the budget?
No way.
But it's unclear if all Conservative MPs will vote the same way, after several abstained from the last two motions.
Do you have confidence all Conservatives are going to vote against the budget?
With the Liberals just 2 seats shy of a majority, the government needs cooperation from the opposition.
Today is a historic day. The Leader of the Opposition and his colleagues have an opportunity to vote for generational investment.
It's a terrible day for the Canadian people stuck paying record-high grocery bills.
The Liberals may not have Pierre Poilievre's vote, but they will get support from Green Party leader Elizabeth May.
I'm going to vote yes for the country, for the planet.
With the Bloc Québécois expected to vote no, that leaves all eyes on the NDP.
How are you supporting the budget?
You'll see soon.
New Democrats met this morning to weigh their options, but aren't yet saying how they'll vote. Their decision alone could force a winter election. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Time for a look at the long-range forecast. And Ashley, we've had such like a dry summer and fall, but we've really had a lot of rain in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, the first part of November, certainly lots of rain.
So that's a good thing.
It's a great thing. Now, we still have a little bit more on the way maybe as we head towards the end of the week, but for now, we'll be seeing the weather improve slightly.
Oh, good.
Let's take a look at what's going on as we head through Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning. So that area of low pressure is still going to hang out for a little while. It's still going to bring the potential for some flurries up across parts of Labrador as we head through the overnight and into Wednesday. But as you can see, a little bit more sunshine for at least the eastern portion of the island as we head through the day for the first part of Wednesday. Some showers or flurries will continue for the western portion of the island, potentially the south coast as well, but it won't be as numerous as we've been seeing, that's for sure. Up across Labrador, the flurries will generally hang around, but they won't accumulate too much. And you'll likely see some sunshine develop before the end of the day through parts of the upper Lake Melville area and then coastal areas of Labrador as well. So for the most part, Wednesday looks decent. Weather-wise, temperature-wise rather, not really moving a whole lot. So we'll sit somewhere between 3 and 7 degrees across the island. Labrador, Lab West anyway, will stay below 0. You'll hover around -1, and then the rest of Labrador between 2 and 4 degrees for your Wednesday. Now, as we look ahead to our Thursday, overall, that area of low pressure is still going to hang around, but it'll head a little bit further north. So we should see, again, a little bit more sunshine, although western portions of the island may linger with some shower chances. And then again, higher elevations may see a few flurries in the mix through the day. And then for Labrador, most of you, at least for the southeast, will see some sunshine through the day. Again, we may see a few flurries lingering, but nothing in the way of snow really as we head through the afternoon. Now, temperatures are going to start to dip a little bit, so only between 0 and about +3. Lab West, you'll hover around -4. That's where we'll see the best chance of some flurries hanging around. And then across the island again, 2 to 6 degrees, and that is right around where we should be sitting for this time of year for the island portion of the province anyway. As we look ahead to the long-range forecast, really quiet weather, really not a whole lot to talk about until we get to Saturday. And then another area of low pressure will bring the potential for some rain. And then again, another milder air mass, so temperatures will likely reach the 10-degree mark for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. For Central, you'll see that rain as well, although temperatures will likely hang out around 8 or 9 degrees. That will be the story for Western Newfoundland. So Central actually really for the long-range forecast looks decent until Friday. You'll see a few showers, but that rain will arrive on Saturday. And then for Western Newfoundland, that lower elevation shower activity, higher elevation flurry potential for you. And daytime highs by the time we get to Saturday will be up again by about 9 degrees. Now, Eastern Labrador, you're looking at some flurries or light snow Friday, Saturday, and then pretty much carbon copy forecast for Western Labrador every single day with temperatures sitting in the minus single digits. Our weather photo of the day, great shot there of St. Stephen's. Thank you to Doreen for that great shot. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, we love seeing them. You can send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that is stunning. Thank you so much, Doreen, for that wonderful photo. St. Stephen's, beautiful, beautiful place. All right, well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
Good night.